الرحيم ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون صدق الله العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. Respected listeners, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The verses of the Holy Quran that I've recited are from a very popular and famous surah which is called Surah Yasin. And this surah consists of 5 rukus, 83 ayat verses. And this surah is a Makki surah in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned many different topics. And one of the topics which is repeated is the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and about life after death. And Allah has given many examples. It's recommended also to memorize this surah, and it's very possible. It's not something which is difficult. Almost 5 rukus and very, very short ayats. And I remember on one occasion, one of my friends had said to me that it's my wish and desire to memorize this surah. But I just can't do it. So I said to him, is it your wish, really? If it is, then I will help you fulfill this wish. And it will be possible. It's almost maybe 6 hours of work, which you can do, maybe split it within 1 week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, or a month. But when I put it out to him, but then later, he still found it hard. So if we really have made the intention and we try and take some time, Allah will make it easy. Because we need to have some of the Quran in our hearts. We need to memorize some of the Quran. Especially the current situation that we are in now. Many people would only know Alam Tara till the end. So when you memorize the Quran, there's a lot of benefit. Especially in Ramadan, if you have memorized the entire Quran or even part of it, you can read Salatul Taraweeh. Number 2, when you read Tahajjud during the rest of the year, you can prolong your Tahajjud and lengthen your Qira'at and your Qiyam because of your Qira'at memorization. And you have memorized the part of the Quran, you can lengthen your Qira'at and your Qiyam. Number 3, we are more fluent when we read the Quran, when we have memorized some of it. If we cannot memorize all of it, at least we can try and memorize parts of the Quran, those surahs that are common and that are famous, and those surahs which we may read on regular or daily basis. So it will help us, and there are a lot of benefits to memorizing the Quran. Sometimes we may think if I start to memorize, then it kind of messes up my routine with everything else. It will maybe for a few weeks, but then when we have memorized that portion of the Quran, we can actually read it while we are walking, while we are sitting, while we are doing anything. We're not restricted that we have to have the Quran with us. So I will humbly request the listeners out there, part of the Quran, some of the Quran we should have in our memory, and we should try and memorize this great kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah begins the surah with Yasin. Now the word Yasin is not come anywhere in the Quran before this. Now the word Yasin has come. And what does Yasin mean? Allah knows best. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. It's from those hurufs which have come in the Quran, like Alif Lam Mim Sad, Qaf, Noon, Yasin. Only Allah knows what it means. They are known as Huruf Muqatta'at. Usually after Huruf Muqatta'at, Allah speaks about the Quran. And as far as I can remember, there's only one exception. So if we look at any Huruf Muqatta'at in the Quran, after the Huruf, Allah speaks about the Quran. Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابِ. Allah speaks about the Quran. And if we look at surah, other surahs in the Quran, we'll find Allah speaks about the Quran immediately. There's one surah in the Quran, after Huruf Muqatta'at, the Quran has not been mentioned, but indirectly it has. Alif Lam Mim Ghulibatir Rum. So this was also indirectly referring to the Quran, that the Romans, they were overpowered. And the Prophet ﷺ had given this news before. So then Allah speaks about the Quran. وَالْقُرْآنِ الْحَكِيمِ. Allah takes an oath of the Quran. And this book, the Quran, is Al-Hakim. So there's a few meanings of Al-Hakim to try and appreciate and understand this verse, subhanallah, and this sifa of the Quran. Let's look at the word Hakim. The word Hakim can be translated as wise also. Someone that is wise, that speaks good words, that has wisdom in their speech, and someone where people would listen to them, and is just right for that time. A person that is wise, can give you the right advice. Maybe someone that is a bit older. Because when a person is young, they may do something, but then later they change their opinion. Just like a student of knowledge. When you study, maybe after 5 years you have matured in your study and now you have changed your opinion. You've become wise. You've matured more. But when we look at the Quran, from beginning till the end, there's no changes. The Quran is wise. The words which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned from beginning, it's not like there's been some changes after the Quran was revealed over a period of 23 years. So there's not been no changes. Or I think this ayah, this verse could be changed. So this proves that is kalam of Allah. Because insan, so this is what the objections that the mushrikeen had. And they said that this is not the words of Allah. He has just made this up and is fabricated. So this proves that this Quran is a word of Allah. Because if it was the word of a human, because humans make mistakes. If someone was to come and take an interview of me right now, and and have to think so many times to say the right thing. And we change our words and change our opinions. But the Quran is Kalamullah, is the words of Allah. And also another meaning of the Quran that refers to Al-Hakim is the Quran is the word of Allah, and Allah is the judge, and He has given judgments in the Quran. And sometimes these judgments and what Allah has said was offensive to the Quraysh and the people of Makkah. And now the Prophet ﷺ was on that, and this Quran that came to him, this also proves that it's the words of Allah. Because if it was the words of a human, then if the surroundings and the environment are going against what we are saying, then we would think, hang on, let's change our speech. Maybe we should speak differently. And maybe it will have an effect on people. But the Prophet ﷺ, when he's mentioning what Allah said in the Quran, is offended the people of Makkah. And this offensiveness is continuing and continuing, but the Prophet ﷺ is not stopping. This also proves that it's the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yasin wal Qur'anil Hakim. So now, by listening to this of what Allah's mentioned of the Quran, Allah gives an answer to the mushrikeen. What was this answer that they had said, Lasta mursala, you are not a messenger. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioning this about the Quran after He's saying, Innaka laminal mursaleen. Indeed, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is amongst, and he is from the messengers. So Allah has given an answer to them. He is a messenger sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he's on the right path. Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, just by looking at him, just by looking at how his character was and what his da'wah was, people would, if they didn't believe, they would still understand that he is going and he's on the right path. Then Allah mentions about the Quran that it's not something which is fabricated, it's not something which is diluted or mixed with others things. It's sent down by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah has authority and Allah has power. And Allah has put these things in the Quran. The Quran is a book which gives verdicts, and it mentions things, and it doesn't change them things, because it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah is Aziz. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is one of His sifat. And then Ar-Rahim. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Quran was revealed unto him, and he was from the mankind one of the most merciful. Rahim also means very merciful. Allah's sifa is Ar-Rahman and is Ar-Rahim also. So from the people, the most merciful was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this Quran was revealed unto the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's sent down by Allah, and Allah has authority. And it was sent unto the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was also Rahim. This Quran was sent, Allah sent it to people that were not warned by their forefathers, and they were heedless. As I've mentioned before, the prophets that came, they came in the lineage of Ishaq alayhi salam. Ishaq alayhi salam's son was Yaqub. Yaqub's son was Yusuf alayhi salam. So all the prophets that came in the Bani Israel, And then the Prophet ﷺ came from the lineage of Ismail alayhi salam. Then Allah mentions many other points in this surah. إِنَّا نَحْنُ نُحْيِي الْمَوْتَى وَنَكْتُبُ مَا قَدَّمُوا وَآثَارَهُمْ وَكُلَّ شَيْءٍ أَحْصَيْنَاهُ فِي إِمَامٍ مُبِينٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that will give life, and He's the one that gives death. And sometimes now when a person passes away, they may have sent forth, or another word that we can use is invested in the akhirah. So it's actually what we've sent ahead. Either one has passed away and left the dunya, and they've sent many good things ahead. Given money in charity, maybe taught someone the Quran, hadith, and they have done so many good deeds. And the other person, and also they have left things in the dunya. What if a person has left something in the dunya which is a grave sin, and then they die? For example, a person has opened a pub, a person's opened a club, a person's opened a casino, and now he has died. What's going to happen? All the sins that are taking place there is going to go into his account. So Allah has given us this chance. We can invest for our akhirah, and we can leave traces of goodness in the dunya after we pass away, like many people have. And let's look at some examples in this country. Two great personalities, Hafiz Saab, Rahmatullah alayhi, who was in Dewsbury Markaz, and Sheikh Yusuf Mutala, Rahimahullah, was somebody. What did this? Had done so many good deeds. What they had sent forth ahead, and they had left so much behind as well. People that are memorizing the Quran, now inshallah they will get in the reward, because they started this off in this country where there was no tradition. People that are learning hadith and learning fiqh and learning Islamic knowledge, they will get the reward for starting something in this country. So Allah is saying, everything is written, what you're going to send forth and what you have sent back, or what you have done. Everything is recorded. Then Allah mentions about a short story about the people, and Allah sent a messenger to them, to these people. But the people did not believe, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed them. And then Allah mentions about a helper that went to help them. His name was Habib Najjar. And how he had passed away, and it was because of this nusra and help that he had given for Allah's deen. It was said to him, قِيلَ دُخُلِ الْجَنَّةِ أَنْتَ جَنَّةً. And even at that point, he was worried about his people, that what's going to happen. I wish my people would know that how Allah had forgiven me, and how Allah has elevated my status, given me such a status. And then Allah mentions about some signs, the signs of the earth, and how the earth is dead, and how Allah gave life to this earth when the rain comes. And then Allah mentions about the fruits that we eat. Have we done any effort for the fruits that we eat? Subhanallah, just one seed that is planted, and we are eating melons, and we are eating watermelons, and we are eating mangoes and papayas and big pineapples and coconuts. What effort did we do for this? وَمَا عَمِلَتْهُ أَيْدِيهِمْ. But we're still not thankful to Allah for the bounties that He has given us. Then Allah mentioned, final point that mentioned, about one of the signs and qudras of Allah is when Allah gives us age. everything reverses back. If we look, a child that is born, the child that is born has no energy, and then he gains energy to keep the head up, and then the shoulders get energy, the back get energy, and the baby can sit, and then the baby can crawl, and the baby, his eyesight is improved, full vision, full hearing, full speaking. And then slowly the child gains strength and can walk, and then can talk, and then can eat everything. But yet before, all the system was that even the child cannot go to the toilet, and is doing his necessities and fulfilling it there in his nappy. And now what happens when the person gets old? Everything reverses back. The eyesight becomes weak, the hearing becomes weak, the body becomes weak. So just how you were as a child, everything reverses back. وَمَن نُعَمِّرْهُ نُنَكِّسُ فِي الْخَلْقِ. Who is doing this? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He takes you to the peak of your youth, and then gradually it goes back to how we were. Who is doing this? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So many lessons that we learn from this surah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us all. May Allah give us hidayah. May Allah preserve us all from straying and error. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us submissive slaves. Ameen. Wa akhiru da'wana. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.